Hey, dude.
Yep.
You want to play some music?
Yes.
Could we do something that's like, it like starts kind of like one finger snap, and then there's like a yeah, and then there's like a crisp Lydian triad situation at a certain point. Yeah. And then it's just like straight burnout. And we're gonna need all of that with a vest and a fanny pack.
Oh, gotcha.
Okay. I'm Adam Manis.
And I'm Peter Martin.
And you're listening to the You'll Hear It podcast.
Jazz. Explain.
And
reminisce.
And reminisce. Peter, I'm so excited about today. We've never talked about these artists, but today we're listening to the Brecker Brothers.
Yes.
Before we listen to the Brecker Brothers, some skunk funk, you should know that this podcast is brought to you by Open Studio. Go to openstudiojazz.com for all your jazz lesson needs. This came out of, it's funny because we were talking about doing this song, like listening to this song, reacting to this song. And then you went on the jazz cruise and you actually hung with a little bit Randy Brecker.
Yes, always a pleasure to see
the great Randy Brecker.
The great Randy Brecker. Great to see Mr. Brecker. Such a funny guy, such a talented guy, obviously. And such a link with this really influential band. And we're going to listen to a 1992 version that I was actually in attendance at.
You were at the show?
Yes, I was at the show.
And Randy Brecker said that is he a podcast listener? Or he's aware
a
of our
friend of the pod. We got to get him on the pod.
That's so weird, man.
I wanted to ask him when he said, he's like, yeah, I'm always listening to you and Adam, or he might have said other guy.
That's remember. Good. Other guy's fine. I'll take other guy from Randy Brecker.
He really enjoyed it, and but we were thinking I wanted to do this episode anyway, so it was more coincidental that I ran into him there and got to see him. And so, yeah, I'm going to take you back to a time, Adam.
Okay.
A time when this is...
Remember that from Wayne's World?
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. So this is an exciting time because like we might seem like, compatriots, contemporaries of each other's friends, which we are, all those things now.
Yeah,
but I'm going to take you back to a year when we were none of that.
Okay.
1992.
Oh, I was a boy.
Exactly, but I was a man.
Oh,
see?
Okay, all right.
We got to go back then to find that demarc.
I was a young man. I was a 13-year-old man.
Yeah, you were not a man yet, and I was barely a man. I was 21. I was fully legally drinking at that point.
Yeah,
perhaps.
I was still playing with Transformers, probably.
Right.
If I'm being honest.
So 1992 North Sea Jazz Festival. This was like the second time I got to go on a tour of Europe. I was with a little group called the Jazz Futures.
Amazing.
And that's why I was at North Sea Jazz Festival. We played there. And I remember seeing Brecker. Well, I saw him a couple times on this tour, and it was kind of a big deal because it was like
92.
92.
Shout out Ross Perot. Hey, remember that guy?
Really? Yeah, very kind of.
I just remember that election.
Yeah, was that 92?
Yeah, I think so.
Okay.
Yeah.
How'd that go?
I mean, seeing how things are now, not great.
Right. No, but this was a big deal when that band reunited because the record, I don't know, like I wasn't closely like following a lot of it, but like when I sort of first got into jazz and like trying to do stuff, good friend of the pod, Jeremy Davenport, trumpeter, and good friend of mine growing up, and Chris Thomas, Todd Williams, our whole little gang, Dave Berger, Mark Peterson, Steve Kirby, shout out all the St. Louis guys. But Jeremy had this record called the Brecker Brothers, the original one with that really cool design, the LP. And I remember hearing the song, and I was like, I didn't really know what fusion. I mean, I kind of did because I was like, I'd heard some Weather Report a little bit. And I'd heard some jazz and some, I don't know. But I remember this record, I was just
Secrets?
like, what the F are they doing? I had not heard Secrets yet.
Yeah, okay.
I'd heard Herbie Hancock's Rocket record,
okay,
which is a little bit different than anything else he did before that.
That's not really fusion.
No, it's more like kind of hip-hoppy, poppy.
It's a pop track.
But I remember hearing that record, and like for some reason we were like, with our crappy little band I'd heard Chameleon. Like we were playing that in our little band. I remember that. So I'd heard some Herbie from that period. But we were like, let's try to learn some skunk funk.
Yeah. Interesting. How'd that go?
We got a chart, like a pack of charts to this. And like it was like unplayable, unreadable by us.
Yeah, of course. No context.
No I mean, we had the record. So, and then the chart was wrong, so we're trying to, but I mean, it was one of the most advanced, exhilarating, and just kind of crazy, but grooving. and like just over the top, like
It's do jazz.
yeah, it's dude jazz.
Yeah.
I didn't know what dude jazz was, but it was dude, and I also didn't know what cocaine jazz was. I didn't know what coke was at the time.
And that's no
I still don't.
disrespect. It's a whole subgenre.
It is.
It's just for dudes. And that's not a gender. That's just
But-
if you're a dude,
Well, I'll
you
say
know
this,
you're a dude.
right? Dude jazz is just for dudes, unless you hit a high level. Then everybody kind of likes it.
Yeah.
So you got to really go. You got to work harder, though.
I would say that the Brecker Brothers, that's high level dude jazz for sure.
Exactly. It's the highest of the high. But that record, so when they came back together, it was like a big deal. And what we're going to listen to is some Skunk Funk live. Of course, Randy Brecker, trumpet, Mike Brecker, his brother, of course, saxophone. And then this is really cool.
Michael Brecker, by the way, we lost way too soon.
Exactly.
Way too soon, tragically, and one of the great musicians of his era.
One of the huge influences, I mean, on the saxophone and beyond.
Yeah,
Man, all the
sure.
musicians I know. I mean, like James Genus, who's a good friend for many years. I actually met him right around this summer, like around the time of this gig that summer. First time I met James, great bass player out of the not Virginia Beach. What do they call that? Newport News. Those little.
I don't
Hampton.
know.
He's from Hampton, Virginia.
I don't know too many musicians that aren't influenced at some level by Michael Brecker,
Yeah.
even if they don't know it.
Right. But I remember James talking about that. Everybody who worked with Brecker, and then that whole, Brecker, Chris Potter connection, and Brand from Mars. I mean, all.
Yeah.
But it was a cool band because James was like by far he was like the young gun in this. And we were like, damn, who is this cat playing with the Brecker Brothers?
Yeah,
and they
yeah.
put it back together. And this particular version, I know Dennis Chambers was playing when I saw him one time, but this one has Dave Weckl.
Shout out St.
Louis's own Dave Weckl. Great, incredible drummer. And then George Whitty on the keys.
George Whitty. One of our colleagues in online music education.
Who has one of the best jazz piano
go
courses
check out George
over on
Whitty's courses on Artist Works. Yeah. Well, and check out Open Studio first.
And then Mike Stern.
Classic.
You know what I mean? So this is like, let's just listen.
That's a young Mike Stern, probably.
A young Mike. Everybody was kind of young.
Cool.
Yeah.
Sure. Wow. They have that sibling thing, man.
Man,
you know how sisters, when they sing together, they blend seamlessly. They've got that connection.
The phrasing. It's like
incredible.
do you think they were like, all right, staccato on this?
Yeah, the Marsalises have that too.
Definitely. I was going to say, this reminds me of Winton and Branford from the same period.
Yeah.
The way that, or a couple years before this.
Totally.
But the way they would play together. But also like, it's little shades of Miles Davis and Kenny Garrett, perhaps.
Oh, okay.
Like the way they would play stuff together. Yeah. But just, I mean, talk about the effortless like way they're grooving. And it's interesting because I remember when I heard this, I was trying to figure out like swing, rock, like what it was. And like the lines are kind of swinging, but it's very like, I mean, it's just a hard backbeat and like, it's almost like a rock groove.
Totally.
But they're floating.
That's the Weckl special, bud.
That is the Weckl special.
Yeah,
but
no one does it better.
But the way they're phrasing this, would you call that swinging? Check it out.
Yeah, for sure.
Okay, sorry. Using my space bar.
So I was saying, like, it reminds me of One Finger Snap.
Right.
Right?
Right.
It's so fast that you're not going to be syncopating the dunk, you're not going to be able to syncopate the 8th note or the 16th note, but where they're phrasing it is syncopated.
Right. And we would be remiss if we didn't mention, look at that high level. And I actually told Randy Brecker when I saw him, I was like, man, I was just watching
the bum
because
bag.
they just released this
There's
great
a black leather bum bag.
I told him, I remembered it. And I was like, you were wearing a fanny pack. He's like, yeah, I had a lot of them back then.
Dude, I mean, but he's rocking it.
And he's got it the right play. You got it like, that little down low.
He would fit in Yusef Day's band.
He totally would.
You know?
100%. His whole look.
Yeah. Woo. Mike Stern doesn't age.
No.
Still looks like that.
He does. Yeah. And just to say, I mean, I totally agree with what you're saying in terms of like two siblings playing together, but I think that's like 10%, 20% of it, maybe. Like the way, like their ability, they're incredible technical
both
ability,
masters,
but then their like ability to phrase within the groove. And like when you talk to Randy Brecker, he's such a, like, that's the way he is.
Yeah,
too.
totally.
And Mike Brecker was like that. It's a super cool thing. Shout out James Gina, a young James Gina. Are we going to show him? Woo.
All right, here's our Lydian triad.
Oh, yeah.
There's Weckl.
Yeah, there's Venus. Weckl.
Ah.
There's Weckl.
I remember those red sticks they used to sell on the Mizingo Music.
Randy's up.
Love that watch.
So I remember that's like I learned that first part, and then it was a little bit downhill.
Randy, if you're watching, if you still have that watch, let me know because I will.
It's a killer.
I will buy that.
Man, they the whole thing, the glasses, the hat, the whole thing matches, and just they're killing it. They're killing it.
Dude. Come on.
He's going into his Brecker stuff.
Nobody does it better.
Look at that suit.
I always found Michael Brecker's solos like for all instruments incredibly transcribable.
Very
he's
much.
crystal clear. Even though it's nutso what's going on.
You got to have some technical ability.
Yeah, it is crystal clear. Like you can hear everything.
There's a logic, like the way he weaves these great improvisational melodies within, the harmony and the time.
Yeah.
There's a whole lot you can learn. Check out what Dave Weckl. That's some incredible comping and kind of foresight into what he's gonna, how Brecker's gonna play. Like normally, I don't like this stuff of where you play what you know they're gonna play, but he does it so well, it works. Check it out. And then he turns it over. Sometimes predictable can be good when you're that good.
Weckl also like insanely relaxed doing some crazy shit. So you were in the crowd here.
Yeah. So I think we were over by the side. So check out Weckl when he's like, I don't know if he was doing this earlier. He's doing the backbeats like anticipated every other one. See, I be hearing that kind of stuff. That's why we call this You'll Hear It. Check it out. I don't know if he only does it on this part. Down, up, right?
Yeah, George Woody's going with him on that beat here in the chords.
Everybody's probably like, yeah, we heard that from the beginning, you idiot. Woo! Okay, you're talking about transcribing something. The way he went out of time at the beginning of that phrasing and went up and then came down in time. Check it. His time is so precise. Floating.
Yeah, he's a master of precision. Yeah. Look at that. Baby genius. Wow. We just saw him with Herbie this past summer, this past fall, actually. Wow, look at the earring and an earring. Amazing. Woo. Sun's out, guns out, you know?
Yeah.
Jeez Louise.
High energy, man?
This is usually the part where my wife asks if we can leave.
I know, exactly. Most of the women ask to leave well before this. But they all like the drummer.
They love the drummer.
Doing some cool comping.
man. Woo! Randy Brecker.
I think the beat has drifted one click, any direction.
No, it's so solid. Yeah. That's so effective. Can you pause it? So like,
look at those Tascam D88s in the background.
can you pause it for a second? I know there's a ton of them. What he just did, that like, so we've been listening to 4 minutes of this like double time 16 note,
Right.
and he'll just like take it back for 20 seconds and just like let it lay back in that pocket, even after he himself has already kind of established that 16th note line. Brilliant stuff there. So effective, by the way. Easy thing to do.
James got like an octaver on. You call it an octaver? On
Yeah, something. This would be a fun band to be in, wouldn't it?
Oh man, you're gonna be hitting every note. One thing they never said this band. Let's lay back on the Skunk Funk.
Yeah.
No, man.
And what is the cable budget for this band? It must be enormous. Just all the chords. Man, so can we stop for a second? Yeah. So there's something that's going on in a lot of these solos, man. We never really talked about, or I don't think we talk about enough, but he just did that, like that sort of like single note thing that you can do on the trumpet. And then we heard,
with the different fingering.
With a different fingering. We heard Michael Brecker actually do the similar thing on the tenor saxophone. I was just watching a great YouTuber who's a orchestration YouTuber and talk about like the different elements that you can use when you're arranging or orchestrating something. And there's a whole subcategory that's effects, right? And like we use all the time, and we don't really talk about it as its own category, but those kind of effects that they were just using, like, so you've got this like, these like 16th note, like burning lines. You've got that halftime thing that we talked about.
Yep.
And you've got these effects that all the musicians are using to an incredible effect.
Yep.
But it's like such a useful category.
And it's so specific to each instrument too.
Every instrument is different.
Know your instrument.
Totally.
Like Stern was doing some of the good ones.
We talk about, have you ever, if you want to make any other musician laugh as a pianist, do the casino lick thing, because they can't do that.
Right.
To just do this thing. But that's an effect, or for us, like something like a tremolo would be an effect, or there's all sorts of things.
And that thing, like, we can do that, but it's not effective.
It's not the same.
Because they're using a different finger, so the notes are actually, they're a little bit tuned, they have a little textural difference or something.
Totally.
Yeah.
But I just wanted to point that out, that like, of all these things, there's that subcategory, and when that orchestrator mentioned that, and that's a great effect, right? Guitarists have loads of this stuff. They have effects pedals, but they also have like things. But if you think about it as its own category, it can be a kind of helpful device, because you're like, okay, well, I need some of these things like as a collection, as you would like chords or melodies or whatever.
It's another tool in the toolbox. But I think when a lot of times they get a bad rap because people are like, oh, they're gimmicks. They're gimmicks if you use them before you're really good. I mean, you don't have to be really good, but if you rely on them, if you're great players like these guys are, you can incorporate them into the flow and the trajectory of the music.
If you rely on them solely, I think you can rely on them as a tool to use. Like even an effect like well, first of all, any kind of
but like the glissando, sometimes people use it as like an escape hatch. Like they don't know what they're doing, and then they're like, like help.
But I've seen like people like Harry Connick use it to an amazing artistic effect. Or even you think about McCoy Tyner's like left-hand bombs. That's an effect, but it's like, it's so effective the way he uses it.
Hence the word, effective.
That's
Hello.
Right. Yeah.
I don't know if it's an A or an E. Okay. That's such a cool little word.
That's a very Weckl phrase there. Dude.
And if you want, folks can go check the same band out with Dennis Chambers from the same year. It's a different thing, but it's cool too.
That Weckl cowbell thing.
Yeah, I love it.
at Weckl on the show.
Yeah.
He's right down the street.
Right. Well, 20 miles away.
Well, you know.
They're playing very high. Okay.
Shout out to the North Sea Jazz Festival.
Exactly. Yeah.
Great recording.
North Sea's putting up some really cool stuff. You can follow their YouTube channel. You know what's great about that?
What?
Like that was a lot of hard, complicated stuff. They pretty much. I was gonna say they were at like 99.9%, but I couldn't find a 0.9 that they weren't accurate. So I mean,
Precision is off the
100%
charts.
accurate.
Precision is off the charts. Precision is
very
all of
accurate.
them.
They were killing it.
Every single one of them.
It's
Precision
crazy.
is off the charts.
Yeah.
It's nuts.
Technique, groove, and dudisms.
Dude.
Dude,
Till next time.
you'll hear it.
Dude, hear it?
Dude,
No.
Dude, perfect.
Oh.